So in my last video, I went on a bit of a deep dive about Skate. As someone that's been playing it in the playtest for a year, I felt like I had a lot of things to say about it. Now in this video, we're going to address a lot of the questions and theories and, to be honest, misinformation that's been spreading around YouTube, but also stuff that I've seen reciprocated in the comment section of that video. Now, one of the things that's come up quite a lot is that I don't understand skate culture. Now, the problem with skate culture is it's not one thing. Skate culture moves, it evolves, and it changes over time. For me personally, I was in that Bam Margera, Ryan Sheckler era. In fact, I even went all around the UK to any time there was any events in the UK as a kid to do it, and I skateboarded for the best part of maybe 9 years. And to anyone that knows me personally watching this, you'll know that I'm an absolute fanatic. I've got Element decks, Plan B decks, I've got a whole collection of stuff, and I'd never really share it on YouTube because I'm a Grand Theft Auto channel and my core audience probably don't care at all. But when it comes to skate culture and that whole kind of early 2000s thing, that's something that I understand. I also know the full history of Rodney Mullen, the lineage that goes with that. And to be honest, the part of skate culture that I'm not as clued up on is the more recent stuff. I'm more 1990 to 2010. That's the era that I understand the most. And don't tell me you're a skate fan unless you've seen Street Dreams with P-Rod in it and that was your favorite thing as a kid. Before we clear up all the misinformation around Skate, here's a list of all the things I absolutely hate about Skate. Soundtrack. Worst video game soundtrack of all time. Hands down, the worst soundtrack of any game I've ever played, period. Don't like the art style. It's far too Fortnite for me. Not a big fan of it at all. Microtransactions suck. Keep the live service model out of gaming. All of the dialogue in the game is extremely child friendly and it feels like it's been marketed for like 5-year-olds rather than your early teens to late teens to adulthood audience. The always online model makes it harder to actually get online. And there's a few more issues, but now let me just get into the rest of the video where I completely debunk a lot of the things that people are getting wrong about the game. Right, so Skate misinformation is at an all-time high. So in this video, we're just going to reel off a list of misinformation or incorrect information in general and correct it all. So firstly, I dropped a video about the latest edition of Skate, which is soon to be coming out, addressing some of the key points as I've been playing this game for around about a year now. And there's a few key things that I would like to point out. So the first biggest issue that came up is that I called the game Skate 4 in my title. And yes, I did call it Skate 4 in my title because that's what everyone is searching for to find information about the new Skate game. If you just Google the word skate, it comes up with skateboarding shops, skateboards. People are searching Skate 4. In fact, you probably found this video and my previous video by searching for Skate 4. So yes, I called it Skate 4 on my title. Secondly, my last video and this video is not sponsored by EA or affiliated with Skate in any single way. I have not spoke to them, not had any conversations with them, and the only agreement I have with EA is because I'm part of the playtest, as are thousands and thousands of other people. A lot of people are saying that it's bullshit and I am sponsored by Skate. I can't disprove emails that I never got, so let's just move on from that. If you think I was sponsored by Skate, please feel free to fight me legally on it. I've not been paid by EA or Skate, and if I had, I would have declared it. I've got no problems declaring sponsorships with games. I do it in many videos. Why would I do it differently this time? Now the next thing is actually a little bit my fault. In the last video I said that getting onto the playtest for Skate isn't a big deal. So there's a lot of people out there saying that the only people that have had access to Skate are people that EA has selectively chosen to be part of the playtests or early access events. And my point in the video was that there's thousands of people playtesting the game and it's not some like super secret discreet thing that EA are doing where they're selectively choosing people. So of course I was greeted with 50 plus comments from people saying that they've been trying to get into the playtest and they haven't been successful. To be clear, I'm not saying that everyone's allowed into the playtest. My point is that the selection process isn't just YouTubers. Like I said, I signed up from an alternative account, and what EA are actually probably looking for is a certain amount of people from different age categories, different locations, different consoles, different interests. Like they ask you how interested in skateboarding you are. They have multiple different criteria, and if one set of criteria they've got too many people testing, they'll try and fill up a different set of criteria. So it might have just been the case that people have been unlucky, but also if you were previously in a playtest, you're more likely to get invited to a next one from what I understand, because they want people to see how the game's evolving, they want to see how people respond to new tools, and that's the general idea. That's how playtests normally work. So I wasn't saying that every single person in the world can get on a playtest. I understand that many thousands of you can't. In fact, it's very likely that 99% of people can't get into it. My point is that the 1% that are in it aren't just YouTubers. Now the next claim is that I lied about having access to the playtest. Well, it was actually a viewer that got me into the playtest through their referral scheme. But if you need any more proof, I've got this. thinking about it, a lot of you say this is fake and this isn't on my PlayStation. This is on my PlayStation. There you go. World's best game. But going across, we have Skate, then we have the Play Beta. There you go. And I'm not going to click into it. I mean, no, click into it. People will still say it's fake. And I'm going to have to cut it. But anyway, you get the idea. Now, the next thing is a lot of people were asking why I didn't use any footage from the game. Now, to be clear, like Zek and all of these YouTubers that are currently talking about Skate and showing their gameplay footage, they have early access to the game. So they've got the like pre-launch build, and that one doesn't have any watermarks all over it. But the playtest footage all has watermarks. So for me, my watermark will have Cyberboy UK on it and my unique identifier code. And I'm going to show you like a little snippet of what that looks like. Obviously, you can't see anything that gives it away, but this is kind of what would appear on screen. So these people, like these YouTubers, they're not in early access and releasing early access footage. No, they're playing a specific build given to them by EA, and people are kicking off about this. There's nothing wrong with that. A company goes to release a game, they reach out to various YouTubers, TikTok accounts, whatever it might be, and they'll give them early access to the pre-launch of the game so they can make some content. This is nothing new, and people seem to think that EA are doing some like secretive thing to like hide the truth behind the game. Like, I've seen so many conspiracy theories. It's absolutely fucking insane. No, they're just doing influencer brand deals and they're giving the early access copies to a few YouTubers. I'm not one of those YouTubers as I don't have a partnership. Hence why all of the footage that you're seeing now and all of the footage that you saw in my last Skate video was all just from their trailers. Now, a lot of people have said from the last video that I'm just a corporate simp because I defended the game. To be clear, a lot of my last video was actually negative about the game. I pointed out that the microtransactions are absolutely dog shit, and I don't agree with the way that microtransactions and live service models are taking over gaming. In fact, in a lot of my previous content, I've been extremely vocal about all of these issues. Like I said in the last video, whether a game is good or not is purely down to your personal opinion. But what we should base our personal opinions on is the truth. A lot of people are seeing a load of YouTubers lying about the game. I'm being brutally honest here. Loads of people are lying about the game. And then I'm seeing hundreds and if not thousands of comments all over YouTube of people basing their opinion on the game based on something that someone just made up. A good example of this is that popular skate brands aren't in the game and it's been replaced with watered down stuff. Now, I've seen many comments from people saying that Element, Adio, as long as loads of other brands aren't in the game. You got to remember, this isn't 2006 anymore. A lot of the brands that I saw people mention do not exist anymore, or they've been bought out by far off countries that don't do any marketing whatsoever. The brands that we have seen in the game are brands that are still popular in skateboarding, such as Chocolate, Girl, I believe Spitfire as well, amongst many other different brands. And it's worth remembering that just because it's not in the game doesn't mean it's EA's fault or Skate's fault. There's every chance that these companies wanted far too much money or just wouldn't communicate about being featured in the game. It's not just up to Skate what brands are featured in the game, they also need the licensing agreements from these brands. It's perfectly logical to assume that many skate brands said no due to exclusivity agreements with Tony Hawk's new skateboarding games that are coming out next year, or this year, whenever they're coming out. But also, inside Skate, things work on drops. There's Nike drops, Vans drops. There's drops for different brands, and so far in the playtest they haven't shown us everything. In fact, even in the early access, they're just using the stuff that's from the playtest. It's entirely possible that when the game released, they'll actually have drops for like 20 or 30 other brands, if not hundreds. We're only being shown small snippets here because even in the playtest, we're not playing the full entire game. That's what a playtest is for, to give us a limited section of the game to fix any issues with the game. We don't know what happened with individual brands, and it's not even worth speculating about. Now, the next thing I want to clear up, and it's not actually directly based on something that anyone said, is based on the general feeling I'm getting from the comment section. Whilst there are microtransactions in the game, and I wholeheartedly disagree with them, whilst also understanding why they're there, obviously it's a money-making thing, you don't need to buy everything in the game. Firstly, if you're in the playtest and you've paid for something in the game, you get all of those in-game currency points back when the game releases anyway, but On top of that, to add to that, like a good 50 to maybe 80% of the stuff that we can see in the game, we can unlock by doing missions, and those missions refresh, whether it's every day or every couple of days. What's been happening in the playtest might be very different to what's been happening when the game releases. I'm not going to get into specifics because, you know, when you join the playtest, you're very limited on what you can say publicly about it. But people have it in their head that to do anything in the game, you've got to spend money. Whilst the game is free to play, and of course there's going to be an element of grind to that, it's not like microtransactions have replaced content. Let's be 100% clear on that. Which brings me on to the next point. A lot of people are saying that the map looks really small. Personally, skating around the map, it doesn't feel really that small, but obviously, if you were there in the early playtest, you may have noticed there's actually another half of the map that they're currently working on and some other locations. Now, whether that's going to be paid content or free content, honestly have no idea, but a lot of people are saying that it should go back to the old skate system where you get DLCs. But people aren't mentioning that you had to buy those DLCs. You had to pay for those DLCs, and they costed money before. I feel like what we're seeing on YouTube now around skate is a complete culture shift where people are more than happy to say that it needs to be like the old skate games, but are completely willing to forget that the old skate games required you to constantly buy things from the Xbox store and from the PlayStation store for things that you wanted in the game. Yes, they did clothing packs. Yes, they did character packs. Yes, they did map packs. All of that stuff was add-ons that you had to buy. And currently in Skate, in the playtest version, I've spent the equivalent of about $10, and I've still not burned through all of that money in the game yet. And I've literally customized my entire character with the whole fit that I'm happy to roll with now, and I have been rolling with that fit now for the past 2 months. There's nothing else about that I'd change. Now, in my last video, I did go into detail about the things I was unhappy with, and if you want to see the full list of all the things that I didn't like about the game, of course you can watch that video. I am more than willing to criticize EA and Skate for the shit they've done wrong, but we do need to chill the fuck out when it comes to criticizing them for shit that we've just heard another YouTuber say. Now, another thing that came up an awful lot was that obviously in the last video I was talking about some of the contents of the playtest, and that is a direct violation of the agreement you sign when you sign up to the playtest. Now, I said in the video that I'm fully aware that that's a violation and they can, if they want to, take me to court. And I've had loads of comments from people saying exactly what I said in the video and treating it like I don't understand. No, I'm fully aware of the ramifications of doing that, but personally speaking, and I could be entirely wrong about this, I guess time will tell, I don't think EA are going to take me to court for defending their game when there's so much misinformation about their game available online. Plus, there's loads of content from people that have been in the playtest that are now have early access to the game, and they're talking about it. It's worth noting that whilst EA reserve the right to issue a cease and desist against me, they can issue copyright claims against my content, they can have it taken down, it's very unlikely that they will, because the bulk of that last video and even this video is defending the game in itself, and to be honest, there's barely any content out there doing it other than people that have actually played the game, which is funny how that works, isn't it? So yeah, I'm fully aware that I'll probably never get invited to an EA playtest ever again. So despite people thinking that I have some undeclared sponsorship with EA, I'm directly breaking a non-disclosure agreement that we signed when taking part in the playtest. So if anything, I'm pissing off EA more than anything. I just like to think that maybe there's some benefit of the doubt in place so they can see that the nature of my content is actually defending them, and I'm not trying to utilize the playtest to falsely report on early access footage, for example. So it's really up to EA what they do from here in, here out. Like, if they decide to get my video taken down, fully fair game. Totally understand that. They're more than welcome to have that removed. And I even said that in my last video, but still I'm getting so many comments from people explaining to me that EA can remove the video. Yes, I know, and they can take me to court. Do I think they will? No. Will I be surprised if they do? Yeah. Will I be surprised if they have the videos taken down? Not really. I'm not some like 12-year-old that's just started YouTube. I'm getting closer and closer towards 30 every single day, and I'm fully aware of the consequences of my actions. And the only reason I chose to violate their agreement about early playtests and sharing stuff on social media is because I took all the calculations into consideration. I knew the risks involved, and I looked at it from a zoomed out standpoint of, am I sharing anything about the playtest that isn't publicly available through Zexy's video, or am I sharing any footage that's from the playtest? No. For them to actually raise like a legal case against me, they would have to argue that I ruined something or spoiled something about the game that isn't publicly viewable online that's been sanctioned by EA, which Everything I've said is just my experiences with the playtest, but because of Zexy's video and many of the creators that have posted their early access gameplay footage, it's now all in the public domain. I'm just using my videos as a place to be able to tell you all of that stuff. For example, I've mentioned brands like Girl and Chocolate and other brands that are featured in the game. Well, all of that stuff is actually in all of Zexy's content and many of the YouTubers that have posted it. But for some reason, people still aren't able to comprehend that those brands are in the game. Over the past 2 hours, I've gone through 8 videos from various YouTubers and I've watched them all the way through, and all of them have commented based on videos they've seen from other people, and some of these videos are racking up stupid amounts of views, and half the stuff they're saying is entirely incorrect. I know I mentioned this in the last video, but it's really frustrating because half the comments I've been getting on my last video are all people saying things based on what another YouTuber said, based on them watching another YouTuber's video of gameplay. And the thing is, the gameplay is the one thing that not many people are that offended by. Yeah, graphically, it's a bit Fortnite-ish. Fully fair criticism. Of course, that's fully understandable, and that's one of the criticisms I had of the game. But all the other stuff that people are saying, like, I do not understand. I do not understand how people are willing to go and leave like 50 comments on a channel because another YouTuber said a thing and that YouTuber that they watched hadn't even played the game. Look, if you look at gameplay footage and you don't like what you see, you're more than entitled to have that opinion. But to call people outright liars, and I've been called an outright liar from my last video when I've been playing the game for as long as, I mean, coming up on a year, is insane. And to be honest, we keep going in these cycles now. The Paradise game scam thing, I was the first YouTube video to call that out. Everyone told me I was bullshitting. I had so much backlash for that whole Paradise thing. And guess what? It turned out to be a scam. I was invited to the early access events for Mind's Eye. I said the game was going to be shit. The backlash I got, like, people need to accept that they're not always right. And I'm not always right either. If the game comes out and there's some horrendous shit in there that wasn't in the playtest, I will be the first one to call it out. I'm not saying that Skate is going to be perfect. I've been very, very critical about some of the issues it has, but let's be critical about the problems it has. Let's not make shit up, because if we start creating a sea of issues that don't exist, the ones that do exist aren't going to be addressed and they'll never get better. Things like game engine and graphics, I don't think that's going to change over time, but the way that microtransactions are utilized and implemented, they're things that we can actually change if we focus on them. Rather than talking about, oh well, brands like Girl and Chocolate are real skateboarding brands and they're not in the game when they actually are. Like, rather than going down that whole route and creating threads and threads of comments and replies and Reddit posts and on YouTubers' videos, let's drive into the microtransactions. Let's find out when the game releases if it really is predatory. And if it is really predatory, how do we go about getting that fixed? We resolve problems by tackling the truth. So let's just do that. Sorry for this video being a complete rant. I've never seen so much absurdity in my comment section as I did in my last video. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I shall see you all in the next one.